Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Powercast. It's your boy all the way from the Black Table, maupower, the golden mic from the north, here with another episode, our episode 4 on Powercast, all the way from Gimli Country, Cairns. Now, before we continue any further, I'd like to show respect and acknowledgement to the traditional custodians of this land, which I'm broadcasting upon, and extend a acknowledgement to all the traditional custodians from your land where you're tuning in from wherever you may be, either in this country, nationally, or around the world. This is the Powercast, everybody. For those who don't know what Powercast is, it is the maupower podcast where we talk to people about life, art, business, culture, and just everyday things to do with creativity and music. All the way here now, joining me as my guest from Brisbane City, my brother, from way back in the PAPC days. We started out this together, man. Probably the first time I started recording in hip hop, a profound lyrical MC, someone that I'm inspired by, my brother Unda Dwella. Hey, bro, welcome to Podcast. I have to say, that was probably my best intro ever. Episode 4, and we're getting the flow of this, bro.
You're hitting the ground running.
In the ground running. Hey, to all our people out there, before I get allow the brother to introduce himself properly and tell you a bit about his background, the comments are live. I want you to drop comments, ask questions as we go along. Also, share this to your people and tell them to share to their people, because we want to get as much people a part of the conversation as possible. If there's any glitches or anything you can't hear, please drop a comment and I'll try to modify from the back end. This is all organic. It's live. We're doing this as we go along. You've seen in the intro, like the Facebook page, like us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram. But let's get into it. My brother, Unda Dwella, I want you to introduce yourself and your mob, where you are, and then we'll go into your story about how we connected in this journey called hip hop.
For sure. I'm UD, Yorta connection. That's where at least one of my bloodlines comes from, bit mixed race as well, but a proud Aboriginal man, proud of my mob. Obviously a long-term rapper, that's how we know each other as well. We're fam. As I say, I'm a dad. That's the most important hat that I wear. Fighter with a good fight, try to do the right thing, get to the protests. Happy to use my voice and any kind of platform I have for positive uses. So,
which we will start speaking about as we go along, because you've been a part of many great movements, and always spreading that conscious positivity, especially bringing light and shedding light through your music and everything you do on issues pertaining to First Nations people, but also where whatever you always believe, or we share the same beliefs. What we always believe is that needs to have light shed on.
Got to spread the word. It's important.
Bro, you were the part of the maiden voyage. We talked about our connection with PAPC, how we started 20 years ago.
Crazy.
And we had the brother Chris Rada and Glenn McIntosh on here. So if they're watching, shout out to my other two brothers. Hope you guys So take us back to the beginnings, bro. I am very, very curious to hear your journey at the start of how you connected to hip hop.
Yeah, my love for hip hop came simply from one thing. I can tell you exactly what it was. Is the movie Beat Street. I was in about grade 2, living up in the Murray Valley at the time with my family up there. Mount Tachikoi was where we're at. So kind of, I guess it's about 400 Ks north of Brisbane, closer to, it's about, I don't know, maybe 60 Ks south of kind of inland a bit too from Gympie. And we used to go to the Gympie video store up there, and we spotted Beat Street, took it home, and we were repeat renters. Seriously, I'd love to know how many of the Helltown boys, I dare say a lot of the Helltown boys have a similar story, and we would have played the fuck out of that tape, that same one.
Video Easy, I was Blockbuster, man.
No, this was an independent. It wasn't even a chain store. I can't remember the name of it, but I'm sure the Helltown boys would know exactly the video store. It's like an industrial area in Gympie. I think it was the main one, if not the only one there. So yeah, that's how it started. Watched that, 4 Elements in Effect. Ironically, for both of us, kind of full circle material. It planted the seed, and Zulu Nation was a big part of that, which we both went on to much later be members of. So, life has those cycles. So,
absolutely.
So I loved all the elements represented, but the rapping was definitely what caught me the most and what caught my imagination. So being in the country, didn't really have a lot of exposure. There was no gigs. There was nothing really happening. So growing up, any little trickles of rap, whether it be a jingle on an ad or something that I caught a little bit of on Rage, didn't really matter what it was. If it was rap, I loved it.
Yes.
So just whatever little trickles I could consume, I just soaked it all up. And then it wasn't until early high school when I went to Gympie High, and by that time tapes were circulating. I remember sitting in one of the boys' bedroom, hearing WuTang Clan for the first time, and how, Enter the 36 Chambers. Before that, most of what we were getting down to was West Coast gangster rap. So we went from like Above the Rim soundtrack was one of the big ones. That was such a big momentous moment, almost, that one, and that had so much love. Obviously, Snoop Dogg, Tupac. It was all about the West Coast. Warren G. We were all on that West Coast tip, and then through comes Wu-Tang, and it's like, what the fuck is this? And you're sitting there like just trying to take it in. It's just amazing,
I remember that, man. My cousin came up from Brisbane. He was living down in Brisbane at the time. We were in our teens, man. And 36 Chambers, bro. Yeah. Man, when you listen to that, like that was something out of space to me. Like the lingo, like just the way flipping lyrics. Man. I'm like, what language is this?
Man, the kung fu samples, like from the moment it drops, it starts dropping kung fu samples in that, and you're like, just sitting there, you're just confused. You're just trying to process it, and it's not that it's bad; it's just different,
And that's true, and that. Yeah, man. RZA, bro, genius. The Abbott, genius. Wu-Tang, Jizza, man, lyrically genius. Right, the whole Wu-Tang Clan, the fam, man, just so profound.
The fact they're still doing it and they're still killing it is a testament to exactly that. It's crazy. So that kind of stuff, like, and we're talking like back in the day where it's like a taping of a taping of a taping of a taping of a taping, and it's starting to get like big artifacts in the sound because it's that many generations along taped, kind of deal. But like that's the like I remember. Man, I remember.
Go, bro. No, sorry. Go on.
No, one of the funny things was because my mum at the time was heavy, like hardcore on the Christian tip, so she was saying we can't listen to secular music, right? And I'm going to my friend's place, and the first time I got drunk was at the same friend's place and listening to this rap music, and I turned around to my mum and say, Can I get a tape of this rap? And she's like, no, you can't do that, straight out. You're like, you're not listening to that. So what do? Of course I get a tape. Like, That first track of my teenage rebellion is my anthem, Bring It On by the Ghetto Boys and the Rap-A-Lot family. So I took that was the first track on the tape. I put it in, cranked it up to full volume. My mom came in, ripped the shit out of me that night, and then that was it. She knew she couldn't stop me. So yeah, craziness. I think for me, my next kind of shift from that kind of stuff was watching. It was before it was Channel V. There used to be Red, was the name of the music channel on Foxtel, and they had Red Soul, a program on there. And that's the first time I heard like Nas and De La Soul and that kind of conscious rap from the East Coast. And that was a turning point again for me. From then on, that was more my shit than anything else, and still to this day, my shit's like East Coast lyricism, and still like, stuff like Tribe, still have ultimate love and respect for that music,
Yes.
So that stuck with me. So, and obviously on the rhyming front for me, so that's more so as a head. On the rhyming front, because I've always had a love for the English language and kind of manipulating it and learning how to play with it and the like. So I kind of started writing my own songs probably grade 4 or 5, I'd say.
Wow,
I started playing with it. It wasn't necessarily rap at that point. It was more song lyrics. And then as I've moved to poetry a bit more, so I had a love for poetry. And then naturally poetry flowed into rapping. And that turning point was about 12 or 13 years old. I started writing my own lyrics. And that's when started rhyming along with things I heard. So kind of the seed was kind of beginning to grow at that point.
Yeah. I was about the same. It was 14. I can clearly remember sitting, like I was into, connected into the hip hop scene around 6, 7 years old. Same deal, man. Came across Wild Styles, and then led into the movie Breakdance. So you have to think about that. That with Ozone and Turbo was so influenced by the breakdance that you wanted to do all of that stuff, man. And the older brothers around that time were, doing the windmills and spinning around, and they were actually actual b-boys. Like they were really into it, bringing this culture from like Sydney all the way up to the Torres Straits. It became we were so into it because it was a safe place for self-expression and non-judgment, and it became a part of that. So by the time I was 14, I was already immersed in it all. Like it became a part of my life. And I remember sitting in class, writing out the goals. The teacher at that time preparing us for, high school said, can write goals. The top 3 goals that I wrote, one was to be a crayfish fisherman, which I ended up I'm still do as a part of my business. The second was a rapper, which I am. So, and the third was a mechanical engineer, which is how I met you guys. I was down in Toowoomba studying mechanical engineering. Okay. Now, here's the interesting thing. I only went into mechanical engineering because of a movie called Higher Learning. In Higher Learning, with one where Busta Rhymes, Ice Cube, they had Michael Rappaport, and he was a mechanical engineer, Omar Epps, and I was like, I'm going to uni. What do I want to study? Mechanical engineering looks good. Let's do that. So everything's influenced by hip hop, man. Influenced by hip hop. Hey, CJ just CJ just did a shout out, man. So what's up, Chris? CJ, hope you're having a great Friday evening, bro. Tuning in. Thanks for dropping the comment. Great to have you back on as well for a yarn at some point. Yes, so everybody else who's tuning in, please feel free to comment, to drop a line. Matter of fact, I'll ask a question. If you're into hip hop, please put a comment down of when was your first encounter with hip hop, and what was it that you liked about the culture, about the music, about the art form. So question, brother Elijah, Unda Dwella. We lived in remote parts of Australia. I mean, me in the island, you in the country town. How did the music get to us? Like this still baffles me today. This stuff travels. I just don't know how it does. It just does.
Yeah, well, I guess that for me it was that random find in the video store, that Beat Street movie, and then not much for between then and high school. I didn't really get too much exposure, though. I must say, the first time I got to choose a tape, I chose Rappin' Rabbit's Safety Habits. So that was the first any kind of project, was this American safety cassette with the supposed rapper rabbit. So jams like Rappin' 911, some classics on there. But that's what I mean. Just anything I could get. Someone also gave me, it was a cassette of secular songs remixed into Christian songs.
Really?
So Oh yeah, and I didn't even really know at the time because I hadn't had the exposure to the actual tracks. But they were flipping like Cypress Hill and stuff, like How I Could Kill a Man by Cypress Hill into like a Christian track and stuff like that.
Oh, mixtaping been happening for years.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
That's how hip hop started
that,
out, man. Jack beats and rhymes, man.
they were pretty good on the tape, I must say. Like that was probably the first decent rap that I ever actually heard. You know,
Wow.
Before that, there was no qualification. Anything rap was good to me. You know.
Yes. I gotta say, shout out to Balamadi, always there supporting. Martin Kernback, thank you for that message. Yes, which I wonder which movie you're referring to. I think it's Higher Learning. If that's the one, yes, it was a great movie and it was very influential at that time when we were watching it. It still is. I go back and rock that. I grew an afro because Cube had the fro, bro. Like I just did. So we're here, bootlegging was big. I remember that's how we got the buzz out from us being, local rappers in the community. That people just did tapes of tapes and sent that around communities, and that's how we got out there, and that's how the music got to us. Like there was nothing commercial up in the islands that you could watch on television that would show us of, what hip hop was. We were just listening to tapes, man, and those tapes used to travel from all the way down south. It will come up and find us out in the dirt track basketball courts, and we were pumping stuff like bringing Public Enemy, Ice-T, De La Soul. I mean, De La Soul was the first one that I remember hearing. Was Ring Ring Ring, and I remember that so much. It was, there were a few happening, but that was the one that really stuck with me. I mean, what was your first song that you listened to that you could remember?
I think The World Is Yours, is it? Or The World Is Mine by Nas was one of the first ones that really kind of resonated on a single side. Before I actually got into rap, that there was one that was horrible that charted over here. It was like Star Trekking across the universe, always going forward because we can't find reverse. I used to love that shit as a little fella. Like I said, I didn't have any quality measure because it was all good to me.
Going back to my point, that's why I was saying it was all about self-expression. Like this quality judgment stuff, that had nothing to do with if you couldn't dance and you were trying, you were accepted because you were just you were participating. That was what I loved about it. The other parts of the component, especially when you go into the commercial world now, that really is puts it into a different era, like a different status for me. The underground stuff I still love. I mean, just because of the fact it's freedom of expression. Shout out to Cole Perry. He just dropped a comment and said, "Oh, this is a great story." Can you read that, bro? You want to read that one?
Sure. So one of the boys escaped juvie, and he was a rapper, and he introduced me to Bone Thugs. I think I was 6 years old. A year later, Local Knowledge, came to our mission and recorded my first song and haven't stopped since. That's dope. Bone Thugs, that was definitely early. Crossroads, First of the Month, that were both big ones.
Hell yeah.
And Local Knowledge, hey, I still fuck with that Blackfellas track. That still is an anthem, that's a big anthem.
Shout out to the boys, man. The boys from
that's dope. Cole, that's dope that you got to do your first track with those boys.
I just love the story. Like one of the boys escaped from juvie and introduced him. That is a great beginning story, man. Shout out and respect to that story. Now, coming into the future, we grew up with hip hop. Now, I knew when I was 14 I was going to do all of this. You knew you were writing music. Tell us about the journey of where this carried you, man, and up to the point where we connected.
Yeah. Well, see, the interesting thing with me is the internet was a big part of mine. I was pretty early on the internet stage, even though I didn't have a computer at home. So, man, I was posting on rap boards. I was like in.
You were the original blogger, man.
Man, I was on that shit. like we talked about, I was on this fucking social media game before social media was a term. I was like messaging people to listen to my music on these freaking sites to meet friends and shit. So like before it was really a thing. You
introduced me to so much stuff that blew my mind, man. I was like, I wasn't, yeah. Anyway, I was just sorry, I'm cutting you off.
Yeah.
You tell your story.
Yeah, so one of the things that kind of helped me with my lyric writing of that was the rap boards. They were a pretty big thing there for a segment of the 90s. And that's through the rap board side. So I was like a battle champ against Yanks and stuff on multiple sites and things like that. I never really did too much of the battling, ironically, when I started getting into the scene, because I guess I was past that point for me personally. But yeah, that was my next step. I kind of went through the rap battle boards and the rap forums. And hey, one of the lads from right back then, I was probably 17. One of the lads was on that Deadly Lecture track, Vaz Mega. I knew him from those days, and we reconnected a few years ago, and we've done a couple of collabs since then. And he's a dope motherfucker as well, so he's killing it. But yeah, so that the rap boards is actually what led me to CJ, and through meeting CJ is how I met the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much how we met, and I know you had joined the crew just before me, Poverty House Productions crew.
A week or two or something, yeah?
Yeah, not long, hey.
Not long.
And then I think because Siege and I think it might have been Siege and Big Pop that came and met me the first time. And then I met the rest of yous when Siege hit me up to come around and record. And that was what became Untouchable. That session. And that was kind of my tryout.
That was dope, man. That was dope. That track is still fire for me, man. I love that energy in that era. I guess I would love to put up some of those tracks. We did, didn't we? Is it out on Spotify or?
Yeah, on that, my kind of retrospective had a couple of PA tracks on that. That weren't really released because I was that Vortex of War remix and Friends, our good old friendship track to a lad that was from the rap boards back then as well. And Untouchable was, I kicked off that retrospective with the first track that kind of kicked everything off. So, hey.
Yeah, that was a great learning point. First, I got to say, shout out to Patrick Taggart dropping the line there. Definitely some great names. Run DMC, Raising Hell. PE, of course, Third Base, Dayla, Jungle Brothers, man, Dream Warriors, Ninja Turtle soundtrack, Turtle Power Spin.
Nice.
Ninja, yeah. I played that to my kids like a month ago. It's like goes around full circle.
That was deep early. That's going pretty deep. That crazy. Like a lot of people don't realize that MC Search from Third Base was who discovered and put on Nas. He was very instrumental in giving us Nas,
Live at the barbecue. That was like one of the one of the most like I don't know what you call it, the most shocking lyrics of that time. One of the lines was, I went to hell for 12, I went to hell for snuffing Jesus. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But he not just drop an album.
Very bad at
King's Disease. King's Disease, man. That guy. I first listened to that King's Disease, man. Man, I'm a Nas fan, like I just am from the beginning. The guy is just super lyrical, with the way he describes the music. It describes the imagery within the music. Heavily influenced by Nas. So that I'm always going to be a fan. So whatever he drops, I just like come straight away, man. That's how it goes.
It was written. So it was written. The first CD I ever purchased. Because I was late on the CD front, but that was the first CD I ever picked up. Second was Snoop Dogg, the Dog Father. And I remember because they asked me for ID and I said I don't have ID because it said 18 plus on the cover. And then they said, do your parents allow you to listen to this kind of music? As if they're expecting as if anyone would ever say no, don't sell it to me. You know? So of course. And then the next one I remember copping was Beats, Rhymes, and Life by A Tribe Called Quest. That one is still pretty influential.
Yeah. I was a very, very big Tupac fan at that time, man. So everything Tupac, I had everything Tupac. Every single thing. Things you wouldn't have heard about, I had about Tupac, man. And the first album I remember purchasing was All Eyes on Me. And after that, it was the whole discography of Pac. Then he was heavily influencing my first part.
I had All Eyes on Me, but it was double cassette.
Double cassette.
All Eyes on Me. Yep.
I gotta before you go, bro. I gotta mention, sorry, bro. For people who don't know what cassettes is, cassettes is this device that's almost like that big. I'll post up a photo with the link soon with a couple of routes. So if anybody out there listening want to post up a photo of cassettes and VHS videos, that's what we're talking about. That's how far we go back.
Gotta have the cassette with the pencil. The pencil has to go with it.
So Cole Perry just shared his SoundCloud. Thanks, bro. We'll peep your music. We really appreciate that. And there's a Kylie Graham.
Hey.
Too good. And if you guys we do have our podcast Spotify. You see the link there at the bottom. Please go and check it out and support the music that we're rocking right now. We put that playlist together. I think it's the soundtrack of what we're vibing with. And there's artists there that we would like to, support us and, spin the music. That's what we want. We're creative for you guys to be entertained and enjoy it. Sorry, brother. So I'll go back to you had the double cassette. And
double cassette of it. So it was before the CD period, that one. Ironically, I traded it for, I met this pair of Japanese tourists that were cycling down the east coast of Australia, and I met them in, I want to say Nambour, but I ended up trading because we got talking. One of the lads was heavily into rap that I met, one of these two tourists, and we were talking rap, and he was talking about how dear music was to purchase in Japan, and it was cheaper here at the time. I went and got my double cassette Tupac and I gave it to him. Tupac. So I gave it to him, and ironically, he goes, he wouldn't take it unless he could trade something. So he gave me one of his mixed tapes that he'd actually put together himself. And people would go, well, that's a bit of a rip-off, a double cassette Tupac album for a taped tape. But no, because it introduced me to so many dudes. Fat Joe, he was on the New York lyricism kind of underground tip, and this dude's from Japan, and all these dudes were people I hadn't heard of at the time. But listening to it, that opened my eyes to a whole other segment of rap that had never reached me before then, and that I went on to enjoy still to this day. Fat Joe is still one of my favorites to this day, and that was the first time I ever heard him. Who else? There was Lord Finesse on it. DITC. I'll be controversial for a minute. Controversial opinion. DITC greater than Wu. I said it. DITC there's no weak element in DITC. I'm not saying anyone is weak in Wu, but my argument is DITC kept their brand tight. Wu and Reza's kind of approach, cool, put on all the boys, but not every one of those boys is at the same level as the core Wu. They kind of diversified a bit further, and to me, weakened their brand more than what DITC did. And DITC are still killing it. Wu are as well. I've got to say that. But that's my call.
That's a tough one to go into, man. I'm a big Wu fan. I think it'll always be opinion based and what's the first influence, and Wu was that for me. I mean, showing that solidified. It be kind of when we became a crew, PAPC, Poverty As Production and OBHI, Wu-Tang was the pinnacle because it was always steel, stop and steel, sword, stop, sharp and sword. When I would hear you spit, man, I go back and make sure I rework my lyrics. And I got that because of Wu-Tang. So
Yeah.
and I guess with Cruz, yes, I can see your argument, your point. I'm gonna just keep it diplomatic and say I just love Cruz. I don't get into debates. It's like I appreciate, love the music and the art. But yeah, so I gotta say a big shout out to the brother Mike Justice, because I got to perform and open up shows for OG and some guys from the DITC,
AG.
Lord Finesse, AG, AG, and Lord Finesse. He was a DJ at one of our sets. You were there rocking that. I think the brother Fred Leone was there. I just saw him post. I remember a memory at that. So some great opportunities we had just from being like, that's a spin out. You listen to this music and then you end up on stage like acts, like that's amazing. Like so, and that's what I love about this journey.
Like you mentioned, like were you on the Super Jam, that Zulu Super Jam? Was it the Lord Finesse show that you got to open at?
I believe it was,
because I was Lord Finesse, Rock Raider, rest in peace, and Q Unique at the Tivoli here in Brisbane. And that had a who's who of the local underground acts too, like 750. 750 were on that bill. A Dying Breed, which is Tom Thumb and Prophet Razor.
I don't believe I was on that one.
No, it was a big lineup, man. Like, and that one I got to rep it as offensive linesman with Plague. Same duo that I had. We got to open up on that one. So obviously, Lord Finesse and Rock Raider were DITC members, and then years later, got to do the two shows opening for AG in Brisbane and Melbourne. DITC there. Obviously, tied my favorite rapper still to this day, Big Pun. Extended DITC fan because Terror Squad, Fat Joe connect. So they were part of the family of DITC as well. Just so DITC, I don't think you can find a member that isn't amazing that is affiliated with DITC. It's crazy. The crazy thing is too, one of the dudes that was behind a lot of that music studio and even production, I've got on my Facebook list because I met him in Melbourne for the Zulu anniversary down in Melbourne. He flew over from New York to come see AG in Melbourne.
Wow.
And I met him, and it turns out he's a lawyer and stuff, and he was heavily involved in all the DITC, and he's killing it. He's killing it with his professional, all his achievements he's doing with his lawyer stuff now. Which, hey, when KRS says, when you're talking hip hop, where's the hip hop doctors? Where's the hip hop lawyers? Where's the hip hop teachers? A hip hop head is not some teenager on the street bumping their head to Tupac. A hip hop head is way more than that. So that's case in point. We do have hip hop lawyers.
Let's go into let's actually go into this part, because this is where I wanted to go. We talked about our love for our love for the art, the craft, how we connected to hip hop. But let's talk about what it created as a culture, because that's the part I believe a lot of people, when they see rap as an art form, they think that's hip hop. Where hip hop to me is a whole culture, it's a whole movement, and it has created a lot of opportunities for a lot of people from its foundation to around the world. So let's start there, man. Let's start about when you were seeing that this culture emerge and being a part of it, seeing the opportunities it created.
Yeah, well, exactly it. People mistake rap music for hip hop. And hey, 50 Cent and KRS-One, they're both rappers. At the end of the day, KRS is definitely an MC as well, which is different. But that's just different approach, really, at the end of the day. But when you talk hip hop, hip hop is not one genre of music. Hip hop has many genres of music. Latin beats is as hip hop as rap is. Electro is just as hip hop as rappers. So to say rap and hip hop are the same thing is to disrespect everything else that forms part of that overall hip hop culture. So you got your MCing, your DJing, your breakdancing and your graffiti, which are seen as the core. Depending on school of thought, there are other elements as well. One of the main ones they say is knowledge, and some specifically street knowledge. If you go into KRS Temple of Hip Hop kind of thing, you bring in street fashion, entrepreneurism, knowledge of self. You go into Zulu and it's bringing the negative to the positive, like, you know, mathematics. Like, there's so much you can keep going and going depending on school of thought. And I think there's not one correct. Some would also argue beatboxing is its own element as well.
Absolutely.
So, hey, like, hip hop is so much more. And that's the thing. There's no way, if someone says, what does a hip hop head look like? There's no answer to that. You know, a hip hop head could be that balding guy that you see dropping off his kids at school, you know, in his minivan. He could be the most hip hop motherfucker you could ever meet, even though at a glance you wouldn't pick it. Like, I've seen metalheads. There's metalheads that are more into real rap than some of the people that call themselves rap fans. And that metalheads that get the whole basis and what hip hop is about more than people that dub themselves rap fans. And that's the thing. Like, hip hop is a living entity. It is a culture. It's not any one thing. I love that quote from Grandmaster Caz. Hip hop did not invent anything; it reinvented everything.
Everything, yes.
You know? And you know, you turn on the TV, you can't sit there. Like, I would question the ability to sit there and watch a TV for an hour without seeing something that is a hip hop influence.
Absolutely.
You know? And that's through the commercials. You know, you got tampon ads with breakdancing and shit these days. You know, so you know, it's everywhere.
Sorry.
You know,
you know? But it's true. It's true. Like, man, everything. Like, I'll go back to seeing, like, because one of the philosophies I love about hip hop is the ability to be able to create something out of nothing. I mean, you wouldn't just go to beatbox, man. You can make music just using your body images. You know, that's how it started. Reinventing everything, but creating something out of nothing. That's why, you know, the art of entrepreneurship became prevalent within hip hop. It's like, because we had to be very resourceful to create the environment, or to live in the environment that we were living in. I would be remiss and would not be a true hip hop head if I didn't say that I'm only here because of hip hop. Being a part of the culture, being immersed in it, reading people like yourself, you know, the brother Mike Justice taking me on the journey, you know, everybody within the culture, with the elements, and just growing and being able to find knowledge of self to become the rapper, the storyteller that I am. Creating this platform, like having this conversation now, we got people tuning in from all over the world. This is hip hop. I mean, it started out from just sparking the idea and applying what we've learned through the culture and this journey, creating this space where we can have this conversation. And we're here 20 years later, man, hip hop really created this. It gave me an opportunity, gave me a life. Like, really, I when I came into this, I didn't see it as a career. I was just in love with the art, the culture, you know, just in love with the music and doing what I was doing. And interesting thing, at the time when I was in the islands, I think organizations and education and health organizations were seeing that this thing called rap was a youth engagement. So I started seeing them using rap as an engagement tool to bring in young kids, and then started to you know, get into the programs. Then I started, and then I saw, this is what flipped me out. I saw huge investments of, like, we're talking about 6-figure investments into programs that was driven by hip hop in a community. When the crew that I built, we brought that culture up in the Torres Straits and really made it something. That's when I saw, I was like, oh, this is different. This is much more than just the ideas that I was running with. This is something else. And then at that particular time, I was seeing the misuse of it. I was like, oh, they don't really understand what this art form and this culture is. And being an MC and a rapper from the area, I was like, well, I gotta be able to represent it up there, like in the right form, and then start speaking about it. And this is where, as we always do when it's in particular in the underground, but people who are true hip hop heads really speak about and trying to bring out the philosophies and make people understand this is what this culture is.
Yeah. And
So
it's funny because people argue that there's no definition of hip hop. When the creators of hip hop formed a definition, you can't argue that.
yeah,
There is a definition. What it means to the individual can be very different things, and how much of a part of them it is can be different things. Like,
yep,
you can be a rap fanatic without being a hip hop head, in my point of view, because
yes,
they don't necessarily go hand in hand.
Yes.
And Brother Bo just actually brought up a very good thing.
I was just gonna speak to that. I speak quite a bit, but I'll let you.
Because first time I heard both of our bro, Fred Leone, rival MC, hell of a man, mad, nothing but love for that bro. He was the first one that I saw talk about it, that hip hop culture and indigenous culture parallel each other.
Absolutely.
The MCing, we've got song lines. It's our equivalent. The dancing, we've got cultural dances that tell stories and pass on our histories. Graffiti, we've got cave painting. And DJing, we made our own music, whether it be feet, clapsticks, we had our own side, and it parallels. And that reading that is one of those goosebump realizations,
Absolutely.
And it's completely on point. I agree 100%. It does. And
Absolutely.
that's why it's not really a surprise. One, mobs still are quite alienated in our own country. So who are we going to identify with? We're not going to identify with a white upper class stiff CEO. We're going to more identify with the struggles of African Americans. With that kind of thing myself personally, when I couldn't really talk to anyone and I felt like people didn't understand me, I could go sit in the dark, put on rap music in my headphones, and they got me. I understood 100% what they were saying. I got 100%, and I felt like they understood me as well, because we had the parallels, even the good old stereotypes, all rappers come from broken homes, say, if the shoe fits, but that's not always the case. But hey, shoe did fit with me. But also, like, the whole empowerment, like, I love seeing an underdog succeed. And that's not just with culture. I always love a good underdog story, and that inspires me 10 times more than someone who had a standing and built on it. Respect to anyone building up and improving their situation, regardless of where you start. But when you come from nothing and you build big time, that's always going to win me over, and inspire me 10 times more.
Yes.
And shout to Amy too.
Yeah, Brother Bo, excellent, man. Thanks for that question, and it is true. I heard the same one from Brother Fred, and I speak about it quite often. And it's why I believe globally the culture of hip hop can transcend and be able to connect with all cultures, because the founding elements are similar. And we're driving from the same art of storytelling to be able to bring light to because it's real-time storytelling. It's happening. It's what's happening at that time. Shout out to Balamoros Cloudy. Thank you for that. And I had Brother Fred Leone, the feature on the track that I just released for Looky Looky, Stand Up. So thank you, Brother Fred, for blessing the track, man. It's an honor to collaborate with you.
And shout to Johnny OG popping up too. Hip hop is definitely very alive.
So, brother, you've been the underground scene in Brisbane. What's the feels? What's it like right now? Well, with COVID right now, it's just like what we're doing, man. Everything's connected online, but it's been strong, and it's been moving quite a bit. Music is still out there.
Brisbane's got a good on Meanjin. Meanjin, aka Brizzy, definitely has always been a good talent pool, I think.
Yes.
Like a lot of names also come from interstate, but find their home in Brizzy and represent the city. I think it's always an interesting thing because the local scene can be patchy. Ironically, when it's like non-COVID times and stuff, you could have 3 different gigs on one night, and then you might not have a show for months, you know. So it's always been very patchy. I think, well, obviously not too many acts from the local underground have broken through. On the hip hop front, Resin Dogs are one of our biggest exports, if there was not really an export, but I think they also do get international love. Good old Resin Dogs. Catch is a dope dude too, good fella. So Resin Dogs would have to be our biggest one. We've had some legends though, like DJ Bribe, RIP. He was phenomenally successful in both hip hop, and his big breakthrough was more rave and dance music culture. So he managed to win over 2 movements with his skills. He could do like techno sets and stuff, and he'd still be scratching it up. And he, through his skills, he got the attention of international people. One of his heroes was DJ Cash Money from Philadelphia. And he got to meet Cash Money and became good friends with him, to the point that when Simon Walsh, also a really good dude, put together a documentary about DJ Bribe called Flow, and Cash Money did actually film parts talking about Bribe to be part of it in that documentary, talking about one of our Brizzy boys. So that's pretty crazy. I think with underground, like, I've definitely seen a lot of acts come and go. The beauty of it not really being money industry is that those that are real and those that are in it because it's in them are the ones that stay, and they're the ones that don't go anywhere. You know, even some of them, you know, even myself, you know, life moves forward. You don't necessarily have the opportunity to get out to as much with life responsibilities coming through and the like. But I personally don't believe in a retirement from rap. Like, if it's in you, it's in you, you know.
How dare you swear to me like that? Nah, man, there's no retiring from rap, bro. There's no retiring from.
Yeah, if it's in you, you can't. Like, there's no moving away. You go and you might get caught up in stuff, but you'll get the itch. And if it's in you, you get the itch and you come back. And whether that's just recording music for yourself or putting it out on any kind of level. I know myself, I get the itch if I haven't been to a show in too long. I get the itch to go and get that energy, you know, and that kind of gives me an energy boost and boosts me in general life when I go to recharge, you know.
Shout out to Cole Perry, bro. Yes, thanks to Monkey Mark.
Legend.
He's a legend, man. One of there he is, and he just posted, "Hey, brother Mark, man, you're probably one of the first person to interview me, man, when you know, playing my music when we were just, you know, maupower underground guys. So yeah, retirement isn't an option. We agree.
Living proof right there. That motherfucker can still outbreak. Bring in a 19-year-old, he'll still outbreak him. Respect,
Now, while we're on this creativity tip, brother, last night we had a conversation that took us to midnight, you know, but we were talking about, you know, I just touched on it, the opportunities it created for people like us to be able to create our music our way. And you shared a story about a youngster reaching out, and I've had similar stories. Like, we shared the stories about, you know, getting into the game, recording music, and into, you know, getting the music out there. And we kind of came to the point where it's so much more easier now these days with the technological advances and being able to produce. Then just wanted to talk about that and really unpack it, because that's pretty much how we started. 20 years later, I'm going back to how we started, and this is incredible. So
I've been there the whole time.
yes,
I haven't moved on from that.
So yeah, let's talk about that, man. Like, what does it take, or how little does it take to be able to create music and put it out?
And that's the beauty. You can put in as little or as much finance as you need. What you were referring to with the young fella was I saw he posted a video, good old bedroom rapping video on Facebook, and he kind of posted tongue-in-cheek, no one wants to loan me 10G, do they? So I can finish this EP. I checked it out. He was solid rapping. Like, I enjoyed the video. And I replied and said, why do you need 10G? What are you trying to do? And it was a legitimate question, no mocking, just legitimate question. And he was saying he wants to put together an EP. He wants to do 5 tracks and 3 videos, I think. So he felt like he needed $10,000 to get it recorded properly, get videos done properly, and package it. And I was like, bro, you don't need 10G, like straight up. I said, we live in an era like I'm using a Rode USB mic right now, $150. Wow, can even show the box. NT USB Mini. Get yourself one of them, studio quality, plugs into your USB port. You don't need a sound card, don't need an interface. If you want that stuff, you can upgrade it, but you don't need to. You can record at home. I was recording today in my 5-year-old's bedroom. So hey, you can do it for as little as you want. So I picked that up. Was putting in some COVID OT hours, so had a little bit of money. So got myself the mic and the headphones. Audio Technica studio designed headphones. They were, I think, $100. So $250, that's what I run with. As far as beats, if you're musically inclined, produce your own beats. Get on YouTube, look up how to produce beats. There's a bunch of dudes putting out free content, giving tips, talking about DAWs, which is your digital audio workspace. Tells you what to do. Monkey Mark told me to get Cakewalk, which is free these days. For a recording DAW. He recommended that, so you can get legitimately downloaded free software. Rhyming
doesn't pen and a pad, man. I'm interested to see if anybody else on the in the chats, man, drop out if you will have a home setup. What is it that you have? And hopefully at this point people can come and get information about how they want to set up their own home studio, because it's so easy just to getting it out, like on SoundCloud, getting it distributed. It's much easier than what it was. Like, we had to burn CDs and stomp that damn thing, man. That's what we
started out CDRs. I started out going to Officeworks, had a little logo cover, printed it up, cut it out, put it in the front case of a CDR, burnt the CDs myself. Would go hand to hand. I'd be sitting at a train station and say, hey, do you want to hear a local rapper? Give them a headphone, hand them a CD. That's how I was doing that. That was post PA, like PA. Well, we did up something like 300 copies of Untouchable. Unknown, just direct. We put it in Rocking Horse and Butterbeats on consignment, but most of those copies were done hand to hand.
Pretty much. And like with that, I remember we had a really cheap microphone, Pentium 4, sock covering the microphone as a pop studio, recording that. To me, CJ was an engineer, bro. I was like looking at this like, wow, teach me all this stuff. He introduced me to Fruity Loops. It was Cool Edit at that time, which is now Adobe Audition. And I took that back to the islands, and that's how One Blood Hidden Image was created. That was the start, like Poverty Ass Production 20 years ago. And then I fell in love with studios. This is just my journey. I just love being in the studios. And then COVID happened. I reverted back to what it was in the beginning. What I have right now in the bedroom, as long as I acoustic tested the room, just padded it out really good, is less than $1,000. Man, the microphone with the stand and the shield guard was like $150. And the headphones that I have is $20. I already had my laptop. All I had to do was get a decent interface, and I was set, man. I could link over internet to like over online and ship files to the studio. I was working in Brisbane, and in Melbourne, and I'm like, man, this is way cheaper, and I could do this at will. It was like I'm going back to the roots, and I'm loving it. And yeah, it's just been amazing. Like, well, I call this the golden mic. This year is a $50 microphone, man. And we're doing this, connecting to people around the world. This is amazing.
I remember because you guys actually gifted me my first mic. So for my birthday, picked up one from Tandy or whatever and gifted it to me. I think that was an Audio Technica mic back then as well. Because I know you boys knew that I wanted to do music in my own time as well. So you guys did. You were like, yeah, and you gifted me a mic as a birthday present. And I did all my old promo CDs and that on that mic. I used it for a long while, that one. So like it's dope. I think like it depends on what kind of level, but there's nothing if you really need. So I could do recordings here. I don't have any acoustic treatment or anything. I don't even bother going that far because I just, you know, like I said, I'm in my 5-year-old's bedroom at the moment. That's where the computer is. So I can't exactly turn around and build a booth and take up half a room, you know, or anything like that. But I've never really bothered with booze. I've recorded in booze over time in home setups. But myself, I've always just normally sitting at the computer desk, mic in hand. This one, it's got its own stand, so I don't have to hold it. That's nothing more hip hop than making do with what you've got and making it work for you. No matter how pristine you sound, if there's not skills on the mic, it's not going to matter. And just some of the best music is the most raw, like it's not clean. It's just raw talent.
Yes.
You know? So at the end of the day, I would rather hear a gritty rapper that's dope than someone that I'm not digging that has gone and spent 30 grand in the studio. You know?
Yes.
So at the end of the day, it's what you're putting out that catches people. These days, like shit, I use DistroKid for my music. What is it, like base level $15 US a year? It's made enough royalties from streaming to pay for itself, so that doesn't cost me any money. Biggest expense for me is beats because I'm too impatient to learn to produce.
Hey, there are some people who are beat producers, man, and I love those producers. Like I realized very early that there was a certain level that I could create beats, but there were people way better than me who that's their game. I was like, nah, bro, I'd rather, and they understand creating the environment around an artist to be able to do what I do best. I write music, like I write songs, I write lyrics. That's what I do. And I'm not going to try to touch the beat. I can get a basic idea of what I'm feeling, but then they come in and they do the magic, man. I just let them do the thing. I'm like, yeah, that's how we connect, man. That's the art of that collaboration.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel as well. Like I know well and truly my lane is writing lyrics and rhyming. I'm not particularly musical. Like I don't have, like I've never learned an instrument. So my musical ability is very base. You know, got a sense of rhythm. That counts, right? But I know there's been other guys that have tried rhyming and found that production's their lane. Why should I try to take their lane? I kind of see it as I can support them in their choice while just sticking to my choice. So it's a win-win.
Yes. And look, some of the people who are starting out there, sometimes you'll start out doing multiple things, like you become, you know, the beat producer, the MC, then you become the manager of yourself and you just become a distributor. It's just a part of the grind. That's what you do. You're your own promoter. Shout out to Johnny OG. Did he just put up a post? You want to read that out, brother? Some of the materials.
Yeah. So Blindside studio booth, got all the materials from Marketplace free. The acoustic foam cost about $100 all up. The booth cost $250. With Pro Tools and laptop, $400, like 7 years ago, LOL. But that's hip hop, creating something out of nothing. Exactly.
There you go. Thanks for sharing that.
Exactly,
Somebody who's looking at that, like if you're really keen into starting, just getting into that, there you go. You can ask these questions, and there are people who's more than willing to share their experiences in life, and experiences about what they did. I'm more than happy to. I know UD is very happy to do that as well. And you can see Brother Johnny Man sharing his knowledge as well. I would like to open up more questions. If anyone out there listening, if you have questions for any question related to what we're talking about this topic, Beauty and I would be more than happy to have a chat and you'll answer it if you can. What I want to go into now is while we're in that space of creating something out of nothing, the entrepreneurship side. The title of this podcast is LIFER Certified. Now, giving the background of you hip hop and your journey, you created a brand and now you put it on tees, which I rock one right now, mine are right today, called LIFER Establishment, LIFER Certified. So, and there's one in the background, I can see it hanging up on there. I think you noticed that. Tell us a bit about that, man. This is incredible because I've been seeing a lot of merch line coming out. I'm very yours has been a couple of like a few years. You've kind of popped up and done stuff, and then chill for a bit, and now you've reemerged a few times. So tell me a bit about this part of the journey.
Yeah, so with my LIFER stuff, because it's just LIFER clothing, but the main branding is LIFER Certified because that's how I feel. What LIFER means is basically that hip hop is not a phase. Hip hop's not something that I'm going to wake up in 3 months and go, oh well, that's over. I'm a LIFER. I'm a lifelong hip hop head, and that's not going to change. I'm going to be 80. God allowing me to live that long, whatever energy. I'll be 80 still bumping rap. Yeah,
I have to share the one I got said. LIFER established in 82, so I'm an 82 boy, hip hop from 82 established. So I had to put that on there, and I think that's cool. You're able to give people the opportunity to brand their year of birth and when they were established in hip hop. Yeah, so I think that was you inspired me. I quoted that in a song that was unreleased, man. Certified in hip hop in 82. So I'm gonna use that line in something I'm gonna release. But So what put you into wanting to do the branding, like the merch?
I guess kind of because before LIFER, I'd already done some Unda Dwella shirts. So through my music, and I did at least 3 different shirts, and I did some hoodies as Unda Dwella, so to support my music side. But then I got the idea of LIFER, and LIFER is something that I represent through my music as well. I name drop every now and then, and mention because it's who I am, So pretty much after moving some Unda Dwella merch, I decided to do LIFER clothing as well. I'm not going to portray it as the most design orientated shit going at all. To me, it's a grassroots hip hop statement based clothing line. So things simple like the LIFER Certified, the LIFER Established. I've got one, Love is Life, Life is Hip Hop. Another one of my designs is Flows Before Hoes, which is obviously a lighthearted flip on Bros Before Hoes, but anyone that's about lyrics and talented rapping can get that. Flows Before Hoes. So it's kind of like it's just a statement more so. Even I guess that kind of is a carryover from the Unda Dwella stuff, because one of my little things that I started as a tongue-in-cheek thing, like my mixtape was called Everyone Loves UD. And then as an extension of that was the tongue-in-cheek, at least anyone that matters, right? So I released a shirt that said, I matter. So people could rep. And that by extension was playing into that little tongue-in-cheek catchphrase. And as I was telling you last night, one of the most amusing takes on that I Matter shirt is I was standing rocking my shirt, as you do, in Subway, waiting to place an order. And this dude's waiting next to me. And he looks at my shirt and he goes, "I love your shirt." He said, "It's true." He said, "When you think of it from a scientific point, we are all literally made of matter. So we do all matter." And I'm like, wow, you're a space cadet, but I love that take. I love that take. Even like my mum, she's to do with what's called the Forgotten Australians, which is almost like a whole generation of people that were put into the system and abused, and like it actually crosses over into stolen generation as well. And she did wear to one of her meetings the I Matter shirt. And that did strike a chord with that crowd because they're people that have been abused to the point where a lot of their life they have not felt like they matter. So that's almost like a positive affirmation. And that was a really cool kind of feedback on it from something that's just tongue-in-cheek and a joke at the end of the day. But a positive affirmation. Just walking down the street rocking a shirt that says I matter, you get a response. People that are not necessarily in the best place, like, they'll make funny little remarks on the way past and the like. But hey, it's pretty gold. But so out of the merchandise from my own stuff is where kind of the idea of LIFER came through. And my last birthday bash gig that I did, because I did a few of them over the years, but the last one was when LIFER kind of debuted. They were the first shirts that were printed, and I did them through awesome local Brizzy group called Illegal Merch, who are big supporters of underground rap, and the boys, they're legends. So I got shirts through them, printed up with my LIFER stuff. All up, I'd say between my UD stuff and my LIFER stuff, I probably moved over the course of, the UD stuff would be going back about 10 years. LIFER's been around for about 6 in some way or form. Most of that's been pretty inactive. But I probably moved a good 400 shirts, and that's just one-man operation. Put together the designs myself and good old Adobe Audition, send them off to get printed through local means, and moved about 400. Because I've been less active with music, by default, a lot of the support for LIFER came from people that are actually supporting me, more so than the brand. So because I've been a bit quieter, the support dropped off, and that's when I've started looking into other avenues. And one of the easiest these days anyone could do it is getting involved in drop shipping. So drop shipping is where you upload your design. You don't have to worry about any other printing. You don't have to worry about sourcing the shirts. You don't have to worry about any of it. If someone orders, it gets literally printed for that order and shipped. You don't even have to ship it. The company that drop ships it does that all for you, and you get a percentage of the price.
And it's on demand, which is
it's on demand. So
that's 100%.
So that's 100% the best thing of it. Price-wise, if you've got the interest in a run of 50, you can get a decent price per unit if you hit that 50 mark. But there's nothing worse than having dead stock just sitting there gathering dust. So anyone starting out that wants to start out like something on the clothing tip, I'd say the best thing you could do right now is drop shipping. If you're local, if you're here, find somewhere in Australia. I've learned that one the hard way. I did it through an international resource. Two of my most hardcore supporter is a legend called Greg. He was even scared away by the price because of the shipping, because it had to come from the US. So if you can find somewhere local, at least in Australia, domestic shipping's pretty reasonable. So definitely look for somewhere in Australia. That's the easiest way you could get into a t-shirt business. If you gather the support, what I would be doing, the other big thing that's good about drop shipping is it allows you to offer more products. It allows you to offer more designs and more colors than what I could do myself in a locally done one. So, but what I'd be doing if I was starting out now, I'd be doing the drop shipping to get started. And as interest builds, you would offer new designs directly. So you would move, like, as much as possible, you'd start moving things back to local. If you don't have the time, well, one, you need to have some time regardless. Like, if you don't have the time, you're probably barking up the wrong tree. But it's going to be more time consuming to do it locally. But as we've discussed, it's more rewarding as well. And you can personalize it. Like, you can drop a note in, you can drop a sticker in, you can, like, I'd do things like if someone bought 2 shirts, I'd slip my mixtape in, things like that, you know, instead of doing. So you can give bonuses, you know. So there's big pluses to doing it locally, but if you don't have the ability to move the product quickly, then drop shipping is the way to go. Get to know your market through drop shipping, and then you can adapt.
Awesome, brother. There's a lot of gems there, man. Like, and that's the whole thing. That you know, I rock a LIFER certified brand, and it's because, and that's why I got you on this this podcast. Like, you know, this podcast, having this discussion. I like to, and I think this stems from hip hop. When we were growing up in hip hop, we didn't want to rock well-known brands. We kind of want to have our own identity and rock our own, or rock someone else's and support the net, like the group, the family, right? And that's what I like, you know, having once again the something out of nothing mentality. You're creating this. And, you know, you're my bro. We'll be back to, and I know what you represent. So I'm buying into, well, I'm not buying, I'm supporting into that movement. And that's what I like about it. And that I do the same thing, you know, dropshipping. I local, like literally down the street, I have shirt box that they do the printing for me at the best price. I worked out my shipping, same thing. One piece of merch. I have the Blue Lotus branded shirt, and you know, just push that out there, and I give away a free digital download with it. And to me, it's not about building this high-end clothing brand, even though I like to get into fashion, but it's about rocking the empowerment of what we represent. And that's, you know, why the Blue Lotus album is out there. I just want you to be rocking and being empowered by all forms of what it's representing. And drop some gems tonight, man. So anybody out there who wants to, you know, start that local, always source local. Drop shipping is the best way to start out, especially if you have low budgets. T-shirt in person, test the market, man, sample it. But during this time in COVID, what I've seen is a lot more local support. So, you know, and I would love if anybody else is in this, you know, chat. If you got a clothing lines, please post it up there, man. We're here to support and promote each other. That's what it's about. And this is why we're rocking. And you can see there's the LIFER certified clothing link. If you want to go and check that out and see what UD has on offer, it'd be amazing, awesome and amazing to get your feedback, and hopefully see you guys rocking some of those LIFER certified.
You said, like, LIFER is not trying to be a high fashion label. It's almost the polar opposite. It is literally a grassroots foreheads by heads is literally what it is. So even when people go, oh, why don't you do some nice colorful shirts? It's like, well, hey, literally my orders so far have all been black and gray.
And I rock those. That's my colors neutral.
Like, hey, you go to my cupboard, I've got a bunch of black shirts. You know, so it's more about what it says and what it says about you, and the people that I hope rock it. Like, I appreciate support, full stop, but the people that is for are the people that get it, the people that understand what it means to be a LIFER and in the same boat. Hip hop's not a phase. They're always going to be a hip hop head, regardless. You know, they're who I want to rock that shit, and that's what that LIFER established shirt is about. So
yes,
that's the one I think people will probably most vibe with, because hit me up, let me know what year you need. I'll put it up.
Yeah.
I'll hook you up, rep your shit, because that's what it's about. Like I rock I'm giving away age here, but I rock my LIFER S 1981, and that was the first one I printed because it's my shit. So, hey, it is what it is, but yeah, any birth year that you need, just let me know. All up, same day I could have it up and make it available for you. So yeah, I want people that get it and that support the same thing and are in the same place to be rocking it. That's who it's for. It's literally one of the 4 hip hop heads, straight up, not for any other market.
Fantastic. My brother, we've had a great discussion here, man. We've gone over time, but I said, man, time has no relevance when we have a discussion. It's always enriching having our conversations. And thank you to everybody who's been posting as well, questions, comments, sharing their wisdom and knowledge. Shout out and thank you for taking the time to connect with us. It's very enriching, and I love the fact that we can communicate here and be able to share that. And this is what it's all about. This is what it is. And this is why I love what hip hop gave me, is because it allowed this to happen, which enriched my life. As we do, I'm gonna wrap it up, even though I don't want to. And I said, man, I'm still gonna get you back on. I wanted to say, guys, please support local. Share. There was some music I did. The brother Cole dropped his link, which we're gonna go check out. Spotify, and your link for the LIFER certified clothing there. Please go check that out. Anybody else, continue the discussions. Much love to you, Balamonkey Mark. And thank you very much for being a core, pillar from the foundations, man. You are inspiration,
literally.
Bro. I'm doing this. What I'm doing right now. You're the godfather of this stuff, man. So shout out to you. Yeah. Shout out to you. We always like to represent and show love to everybody in this culture and who's blessed us along this journey. As we do here on this platform podcast, brother, I always ask our guests to leave one key value, one gem that someone out there who's listening or watching right now, who will listen to this in the future, that can take away and apply in life. What would your one key value be?
I'm going to touch on one of the ones that I touched on the maiden voyage. Give yourself a break. 150%. No one's going to ride your ass worse than yourself. No one's going to be your worst critic. We always expect the most out of ourselves, which is good. It's good to care and good to aim for a level of achievement, but recognize your own achievements and give yourself a fucking break. You need to take your foot off the gas every now and then and stop and look at what you've achieved instead of always just getting stuck in that perpetual push for improvement, because otherwise you won't actually appreciate anything at the end of the day. So that's what I've got.
Thank you, bro. That is amazing. I remember you touching on that, and it is true. I appreciate you dropping that gem and appreciating your time to come sharing your journey, your story, your wisdom and knowledge on from the studio to a home studio setup to clothing, man. So I appreciate your time, my brother. We'll chat a bit. For our people who's on there now listening and following, I would like to say that we are really trying to build something, a platform of a place of sharing knowledge. Thank you, Patrick. If you guys, I'm asking you guys, to help us build the community, please subscribe to the YouTube, the Facebook, share this to as much people as you can. We want to build this network and community and allow this platform to be something of inspiration and empowerment for our people. That's what PowerCast represents. And as you've heard the stories here before, the previous ones and this one tonight, we're all about empowerment and dropping gems. So thank you. Please do follow, share if you can. I would have very much appreciated. Well,
thanks to RPL as well.
Yep. Oh, yeah, brother. Thank you very much for joining in, man. Peace to you, brother. Well, all the way up here from Cairns, the Golden Mic from the North, at the Black Table, here from PowerCast, your brother, maupower. One love through hip hop. I want to say stay inspired, stay empowered, and stay connected. In my language, Kay Maeso means big thank you. So big thank you, Kay Maeso, for your